All right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're looking at the Minisforum AtomMan X7 Ti.
Oh, yeah. I saw this one pop up.
It's one of those mini PCs, and this one claims to be like a full-blown AI powerhouse.
Really?
Yeah, crammed into this tiny little box.
Nah.
So we've got a YouTube review to go off of.
Okay.
And a list of all kinds of crazy use cases that it can apparently handle.
Wow.
So we'll see if it lives up to the hype.
It's like they just threw every buzzword in there. Touchscreen.
Yeah.
Fingerprint reader, face recognition AI.
Yeah, it's all in there.
We'll see if they can pull it off.
Yeah. So the YouTube review starts with an unboxing, and right away there are some clues.
Okay.
Like the reviewer mentions that it comes with this stand.
Oh, interesting.
Which is interesting because most mini PCs don't really come with stands.
Right. They're just kind of like they're small and discreet.
But this stand seems like it's specifically designed to make the most of the built-in camera and microphone.
So maybe they're thinking more video calls, presentations. Maybe even some content creation.
Yeah, it seems like they really want this to be front and center on your desk.
Not just hidden away.
Right. And then the reviewer gets into the features and is surprised to find both fingerprint and face recognition.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, for logging in.
That's a lot of security.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It seems like they're really going all in on making this thing convenient and secure.
Makes sense if they're going for a professional audience.
Right. People working with sensitive data.
Exactly.
So it seems like they want this to be taken seriously.
Not just a toy.
Yeah. Okay, but let's get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah.
Performance.
The important stuff.
The reviewer put that Core Ultra 9 processor through its paces and noticed something interesting.
What's that?
The temperatures got pretty high.
Oh, no.
Even with pretty simple tasks.
Yeah, that's the classic problem with these tiny computers, isn't it?
Yeah, you cram all this power into such a small space.
Heat's going to be an issue.
Yeah, and the reviewer even uses the term thermal throttling, which basically means the computer starts slowing itself down to avoid overheating.
Oh, so it's like a marathon runner having to take breaks?
Yeah, not ideal if you're in the middle of something important.
Definitely not.
So that raises some questions about long-term performance and reliability.
Yeah, if it's constantly having to throttle itself.
It might not be able to deliver the power it promises.
Right.
So to really understand how this processor performs, we need to look at the benchmarks the reviewer ran.
Okay.
Things like Cinebench scores.
Yeah, those can be a little intimidating.
I know, it sounded like a foreign language to me at first.
But they're basically just ways to measure how powerful the computer is.
Okay.
So like Cinebench tells us how well it handles complex tasks.
But
Video editing, 3D modeling, that kind of thing.
so the higher the score, the better.
Exactly. It can handle those tasks more smoothly.
Gotcha. So it's like comparing weightlifters.
Yeah. One can lift 200 pounds, no problem. The other one struggles with 100.
Right. So we know the AtomMan packs a punch.
But it runs hot.
It does. And from what the reviewer said, opening the case to upgrade or tinker with components is not easy.
Really?
Yeah, they described it as a puzzle box.
Oh, no.
Tons of tiny screws. And a complex layered design.
Sounds like they really crammed it all in there.
Yeah, they definitely prioritized compactness over user accessibility.
Yeah, that's usually the trade-off.
And the reviewer was particularly disappointed by the limited storage. Only a single M2 slot.
That's not a lot.
But they did point out something interesting.
Oh, what's that?
There's a separate fan header on the motherboard that's not being used.
Huh. That's like finding an empty room in your house.
Right. So it makes you wonder if Minisforum might offer higher-end configurations later on.
Yeah, maybe with better cooling.
More storage.
Potentially.
So, okay, we've got this tiny computer. It's powerful, runs hot, might be a pain to upgrade.
Right?
But remember the big selling point here.
AI.
It's supposed to be a mini AI powerhouse.
That's right. We haven't even gotten to that yet.
And that's where things get really interesting.
I'm intrigued.
So we'll dive into all of that in part 2 of our deep dive into the AtomMan X7 Ti.
Welcome back. So we left off talking about the AtomMan X7 Ti being this AI powerhouse.
Right.
But what does that even mean?
Exactly. Like, it's one thing to say it,
Yeah.
but can it actually deliver? So the list of potential use cases we have is pretty wild.
Oh, yeah.
But even the YouTube reviewers seemed a little unsure.
Really?
Yeah, like they edit videos and do some design work,
Okay.
but weren't quite sure how AI would actually fit into that.
Yeah, I can see that AI is still kind of new for a lot of people.
Right, it's hard to know where to even start.
But imagine using the AtomMan X7 Ti to run something like Stable Diffusion.
Oh yeah, that AI image generator.
Yeah. You could create custom artwork, generate ideas for video games.
That's actually something I've been playing around with.
Really?
Yeah, and the results are amazing.
They are.
But my computer definitely struggles a bit.
Yeah, those AI models can be pretty demanding.
And we're talking about a tiny PC here.
Right, so can it really handle that kind of workload?
Without melting.
That's the big question. AI tasks need a lot of power. Often they need special hardware,
Like
dedicated graphics cards.
which the AtomMan doesn't have.
Nope, it relies on the integrated graphics.
So maybe not the best for heavy AI work.
It could be like asking a sprinter to run a marathon.
Yeah, they might have the speed but not the stamina.
Exactly.
But what about some of those other use cases?
Why?
Running local AI models.
Okay.
Or using it as a workstation for data analysis.
Those are interesting
Okay.
because data analysis often involves huge data sets,
Yeah,
which the AtomMan's processor and RAM could handle well.
okay.
And running local AI models means you're not relying on the internet.
True.
Big advantage for speed and privacy.
So it's like having your own little AI lab,
Right there on your desk.
but with only one M2 slot for storage?
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Wouldn't you run out of space pretty quickly?
Especially with large data sets.
Definitely. And even though running AI models locally can be good.
We can't forget about that lack of a dedicated GPU.
Right.
It's going to hold it back.
Especially for complex models.
Yeah,
It seems like there's always this trade-off.
between portability and power.
You get the convenience of a mini PC.
But you might lose some performance.
So maybe the AtomMan isn't the ultimate AI machine.
But it could be great for exploring and experimenting with AI.
Yeah, dipping your toes in the water.
Exactly. Finding new ways to use these tools.
And who knows, maybe in the future we'll have even more powerful mini PCs.
that can really handle anything.
Okay, so we've covered AI pretty thoroughly.
I think so.
But the AtomMan X7 Ti isn't just about AI.
Right.
It's also supposed to be good for gaming and content creation.
Oh, yeah, those are demanding tasks, too.
So can this little guy handle it?
Or will it melt into a puddle of silicon?
We'll have to find out in part 3 of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been really putting this Minisforum AtomMan X7 Ti through the ringer.
Yeah.
Looking at its design, the performance, the AI stuff.
It's a pretty interesting little machine.
It is. But we haven't talked about gaming and content creation yet.
Right, because those are some pretty big claims, too.
Yeah, so can this thing really handle those tasks?
Well, on the one hand, we know it's got a pretty powerful processor for its size.
True.
But we also know it's got those limitations with heat and the lack of a dedicated graphics card.
Right, so maybe not a replacement for a high-end gaming rig.
Probably not.
But the source material did mention some pretty impressive gaming performance,
Like what?
even hinting at AAA titles at 1080p and 1440p.
I think we need to be realistic here.
Yeah.
That Intel Core Ultra 9 is good,
Yeah,
but it's the integrated graphics that are going to hold it back.
right, because they have to share resources with the processor.
Exactly. They're not as powerful as a dedicated graphics card.
So no Cyberpunk 2077 on ultra settings.
Probably not.
No.
But for less demanding games,
Okay.
indie titles, older games,
Yeah,
it could be a surprisingly good experience.
especially if you lower the settings a bit.
Exactly.
Okay, so maybe not a hardcore gamer stream.
But definitely capable of some fun.
Now, they also mentioned emulation,
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
even hinting at newer consoles like the Switch.
Wow, that's ambitious.
Right, for such a small device.
Emulation can be tricky.
Yeah.
It really depends on what you're trying to emulate.
So older consoles should be fine.
Yeah, they had simpler hardware.
The AtomMan's processor can probably handle that.
No problem. But newer consoles like the Switch,
Yeah,
much more demanding.
so it might not be a smooth experience.
It could be hit or miss.
Best to stick with classic games then.
Probably a good idea. And always do your research.
Yeah, make sure your system can handle it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about content creation,
Good.
because that's a big one for a lot of people.
A lot of people are using mini PCs for that now.
And the source material mentioned video editing, graphic design, even 3D rendering.
That's a lot.
Can this little thing keep up?
Well, again, it depends on what you're doing.
So basic video editing should be fine.
Yeah, photo editing, light 3D modeling.
Okay.
It's got the RAM and the storage for that.
So maybe not editing a Hollywood movie,
Probably not.
but good for YouTube videos, social media stuff.
Exactly. And don't forget about portability.
Oh yeah, that's a big advantage.
You can edit videos anywhere.
From a coffee shop,
Not a plane.
like a portable studio.
Exactly.
But what about more demanding stuff?
Like 4K video editing?
Yeah, or complex 3D rendering.
That's where those thermal limitations come in.
Right, it's going to push the AtomMan to its limits,
And thermal throttling could become a problem,
impacting performance.
potentially even long-term reliability.
So if you're doing a lot of that heavy work,
Yeah.
maybe invest in a cooling pad.
Or make sure your workspace is well ventilated.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So overall, it seems like the AtomMan X7 Ti is a pretty versatile machine.
It is. It's not the best at any one thing,
True.
but it's good at a lot of things.
A jack of all trades.
Exactly. And that portability is a big plus.
It is. So to wrap things up, it's clear that this little AtomMan packs a punch.
Yeah, for its size, it's really impressive.
Powerful processor, sleek, designed some interesting AI features.
It can handle a lot.
Gaming, content creation, everyday tasks.
But you might have to make some compromises.
Depending on what you're doing.
Right.
But ultimately, it shows how computing is changing.
Power and portability are becoming more and more important.
And it's all happening in these tiny little devices.
It's exciting to see where it goes from here.
It is. So what do you think about the AtomMan X7 Ti? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe.
We'll be back with more deep dives into fascinating tech and ideas.
See you next time.